Today, I would like to show you a little bit of form alignment assistance in downward facing dog. So downward facing dog can be thought of as a resting pose, but it's definitely not a resting pose if you're doing it correctly. So, couple things to be mindful of. When we're in down dog, we want to make sure that the arms are just a little bit wider than shoulder distance, that the hands are turned out just a little bit. There's a tendency to cave in and take the elbows in. There's also a tendency to round the hands like these little claws. We want to push from the thumb to the index finger into the earth, okay? So, coming onto your hands and knees for a moment, you're going to take your quadruped position. So, that's the fancy way of saying all fours. You'll check in again that the pointer finger is parallel with the sides of the mat, that the wrist is parallel with the top of the mat, that you're pushing through the thumb and index finger. You're pushing all of that meat in the hand into the earth, okay? All 10 fingers are spread so wide, and you're gripping the mat with your fingertips. From there, you're gonna push the arms back, you'll tuck your toes, and you're gonna find your version of down dog. Now, a couple things. Your heels do not need to touch the earth like this. Although that does feel good sometimes, that's not what we're looking for. You wanna take yourself as wide as you can. You want the feet to be a little bit wider than hips distance apart. You're pressing the earth away, so we're not falling into the shoulder joint like this. We're lifting the hips up and back by pressing through the hands. The entire circumference of the hands are pressing. The inseams of your thighs are spinning towards the back of the room, and if you look back at your feet, your heels are hiding behind your ankles. What I mean by that, if I turn my heels in, I can see them. If I turn my heels out, I can see them. I want to make it so I can't see my heels. So the inseams of the thighs are pushing back. The heels are working towards the earth. Now I'd like you to check out my ears. They're in line with my biceps. What I mean by that is we're not pushing our hearts down towards our thighs, pushing, letting those front ribs puff open. It's quite the opposite, actually. You want to draw the front ribs in, push the earth away, lift the hips up, and think of opening through the side body, through the back body. Now, for a lot of us, this is not accessible, and all you have to do is bend your knees. Now, once you bend your knees, there's this tendency to go forward, again in the shoulder joint. Instead, bend your knees and push your hips back. So we're making all this space in the lower lumbar. So, front ribs started to puff open a little bit. I'm going to remind myself, draw the front ribs in, push the earth away. Armpits are spinning towards the face. And then maybe I'll start to straighten the legs a little bit more. For some bodies, that's really challenging. And that's okay, because we have our handy dandy friend, the blocks, to assist in that. So you want to make sure that your mat is not slippery, and I prefer the foam blocks because they have a little bit more traction and they're lightweight. So you're going to take the blocks exactly where you would have had your hands in down dog, and you're going to get a good wide grip on them, okay? Make sure that your pointer finger is still facing forward and it's neutral, lined up parallel with the sides of the mat. You'll tuck your toes from that high plank, and then you'll push yourself up. So I just made this down dog so much easier because I just gave myself an extra, 4-5 inches in the blocks. And you could absolutely do your whole vinyasa right here with these blocks. So you just got longer arms, you got more space. Make sure you're spinning the scapula in that upward rotation, and you're still lifting the hips up and back. Again, you can bend your knees. So finding this for a moment, and then bringing yourself down. So many really juicy, groovy, supportive ways that you can use the block to help create the muscle memory for the proper posture in your yoga. So remember, from an evolutionary standpoint, blocks are a sign of intelligence, not of weakness. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. I hope that was helpful. I'll see you next time. Stay tuned for more videos on how blocks and props can improve your practice.